Good afternoon, scholars. Happy Thursday. Mr. Johnson here to give you some feedback on yesterday's work and also some guidance and directions on tonight's assignment. First, let's look at some daily data. Yesterday, we had a turn-in rate where only 26% of us turned in our work on time. Yesterday, the day before, it was 31%, so we're actually down 5%. So we really got to make sure that we get that turn-in rate up. We should be in the 90s. Make sure that you guys really take advantage of this time, these opportunities with this instruction, because you still need to be learning. You still need to be prepping for high school and beyond. And a lot of students don't get this opportunity, right? So make sure that you are getting your work in on time to the best of your ability. And if you got some friends who need some support and some encouragement, make sure that they're getting into. I know tomorrow we're going to do better with this, so let's really make a strong push for at least 50. That'd be a great improvement from if we can get to 50 tomorrow. All right, let's check our work from yesterday. All right, so yesterday you read the first couple pages of Call of the Wild. You got to know Buck, and you got to know where he grew up on Judge Miller's estate, and how that kind of impacted him. That's really what we're going to focus on today, too. All right, so the first question, I guess we had a really hard time with this, with the idea of foreshadowing. It asked you, what is the author foreshadowing on page 3 in the paragraph that starts with, Buck did not read? Let's actually go into the text. Miss McKinney has posted the PDF version. If you don't have a copy of our book, you could do it on Open Library, like I gave the directions to in the resources, or Miss McKinney just made it easier for all of us, and she just listed it right here as a PDF. So let's take a look back at that first paragraph to see what Jack London's foreshadowing. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, Into the Primitive. I'll start down with Buck. Buck did not read newspapers, or he would have known that trouble was brewing, not alone for himself, but for every Tidewater dog, strong of muscle and with warm, long hair, from the Puget Sound to San Diego. Right here, guys, a lot of us kind of got halfway there with our answer to what is he foreshadowing? Trouble? Yes. But as we continue reading, it's going to be very clear the specific kind of trouble that he's in. Because men, groping in the Arctic darkness, had found a yellow metal. We know what that is based on our background knowledge about the gold rush. And because steamship and transportation companies were booming the find, thousands of men were rushing into the Northland. These men wanted dogs, and the dogs they wanted were heavy dogs with strong muscles by which to toil means work, and furry coats to protect them from the frost. So what's he foreshadowing, guys? He's foreshadowing that Buck is in danger because people are looking to kidnap, or I should say dog nap, shouldn't I? That's actually the correct term. They're looking to dog nap big, thick-furred dogs just like him to work in the Alaskan gold rush, right? So Buck is exactly the kind of dog that men are looking for to take to Alaska to use as sled dogs. So that's what was being foreshadowed. All right, Buck's physical appearance. Guys, this dog is huge, 140 pounds. My dog's actually, let's go find my dog. My dog is considered kind of big when people who are afraid of dogs usually cross the street when they see him. There he is. Where is he? See, that's Jersey. Okay. He's not small. He comes up to like my my waist. He weighs 60 pounds. So if Buck is 140 pounds, he is over twice the size of my dog. So he is huge. He's a mix between a Saint Bernard and a Collie. Okay, Saint Bernards are huge. Collies aren't so big, but they're like sheepdogs, so they're fast and they're smart. Miss McKinney has posted what these two breeds look like in one of her slides, if you want to reference that as a resource. It also described him as being really muscular, and it even named why he's muscular. He hikes a lot. He's very active. He swims a lot, right? So if you're going to get the full 2 points on that, you can't just say he's big and he's a dog. Look through the text to find as much description as you can. Number 3 was also surprisingly, a lot of students didn't fully answer this question. Who is Manuel and what did he do? You guys got that he's the gardener's helper, that he's a gambler. Most of us didn't name the most important thing he did, which was on page 4 and 5. He stole Buck, and he sold him. He sold him away. Right. This is the thing that starts Buck's whole journey. Is this guy Manuel, who Buck trusted because he saw him around all the time because he's worked at the estate. So Buck thought they were just going for a walk. It's said that Manuel has gambles and has expensive taste, so we know why he did it. But yeah, Manuel took Buck and sold him off. This is going to start Buck's whole Alaskan adventure. Your focus question for yesterday was: Is Buck is humble? Agree or disagree? Humble, humble means you don't think too. You don't have a big head. It doesn't mean you think bad about yourself, but you are kind of reserved. You don't think that you're all that, right? That's not Buck. Buck is not, if we can look at my response here, Buck is not the least bit humble. In his mind, he's the king of the estate. Guys, I color coded my response here because I want to demonstrate walking through the steps of making a claim, giving context and evidence, talking about what the book says, and then giving my thinking on it, which is the analysis in the green. When you get an ASAC response, you cannot do it in 1 or 2 sentences, guys. You can't. You have to walk through the steps, okay? So I'm modeling that for you here. So let's look at my response. Buck is not the least bit humble. In his mind, he's the king of the estate. Now I'm going to get into my context and evidence. So I'm talking about facts from the book. These aren't my thinking. That's why I color coded it all in yellow. Think about like a stop sign. Red means stop, right? So that's at the beginning, stop. Here's my claim. I'm telling you right now what I'm going to prove, right? Yellow means kind of slow down. So when we think about in terms of our writing, when I'm starting to bring you into the story and talk about what it says, I'm like catching you up to speed. I'm bringing you in kind of slowly. And then my analysis is where, green means go, right? So my analysis is where, now that I've told you what I was going to say, caught you up to speed with the facts of the story that I want you to say, that I want you to know, green means go. Now I'm going to show you why those facts matter, how those facts prove their point, my thinking. Okay, so that's why it's color coded red, yellow, green. You don't need to do the same in your own, but I just wanted to show you in my exemplar the difference, like the steps that I'm doing, and the reasoning behind them. All right, so my response: Buck is not the least bit humble. In his mind, he's the king of the estate. He gets special treatment at the estate because his father was the judge's inseparable companion. You guys are going to see here that I use some key terms from, this is called embedding your evidence, where if there's like a certain phrase or word that you want to use that the author did, it's cool to throw it into your own sentence smoothly. It helps prove your point that you understood this really well because you can embed evidence straight from the text. So whenever I just have like one or two words in quotes. It's called embedded evidence. He gets special treatment at the estate because his father was the judge's inseparable companion. Therefore, he's the favorite of the judge's kids. Buck is larger than the other dogs in the estate, especially the terriers. He also has all the privileges of the indoor dogs and freedom of the outdoor dogs. All of this has Buck feeling that he is. Now here's my key quote, my key evidence, right? I didn't just embed a little piece. This is like the line I think best answered this, proves my point that he's not humble. All of this has Buck feeling that he is, quote, king over all creeping, crawling, flying things of Judge Miller's estate, humans included. So now I'm done with the evidence. Now let me bring it home. Let me show you my thinking and prove to you how it connects that he's not humble. Buck's natural gifts and pampered treatment have created in him an extreme confidence and sense of self-importance. He views himself not just as the favorite pet of the estate, but its ruler. All right, so this one, a lot of times when you're asked to agree or disagree, sometimes it can go back and forth. This one had a clear right answer. He is not humble, right? Buck thinks he's like the alpha dog. I wanted to showcase every day. I'm going to showcase a good example of work. It's not always going to be a perfect example of work, but it's always going to be someone who part of their writing was really good and showed a lot of hard work and quality thinking. Our first student spotlight is Lizbeth. This was Lizbeth's response. It wasn't perfect. I think Lizbeth got a little bit tripped up on at first. She said he was humble at the beginning. That's not what she means, because she's actually going to prove that he wasn't. What I wanted to highlight in Lizbeth's response is her evidence selection and her analysis of that evidence. Lizbeth took it a step extra. Lizbeth proved that he was not humble at first, and she proves it by giving evidence from when he was at the estate and evidence from when he was dog napped. So the evidence she chose to show that he's not humble. She said, quote, "But Buck was neither house dog nor kennel dog. The whole realm was his." This was a great quote, Lizbeth. I was deciding between picking that quote and the one I picked, but this was a really strong quote. So that was her evidence from the beginning of the book. A couple pages later, when he gets kidnapped, it said never in his life, because he gets a rope put around his neck and he gets treated. Now, this is also, guys, why I say never do quote followed by another quote, because Lizbeth, the second quote she picked is killer, but we need to stop and give context for it and not just throw it in so that the reader understand what's going on. So the context that's missing here is at the end of our section yesterday, when they put a thick rope around his neck and pulled it tight, he, quote, never in his life had he been so vilely treated, and never in all his life had he been so angry. Check out Lizbeth's analysis for this. This highlights Buck was humble at the beginning. He wasn't. And spoiled, yes. But then when he got kidnapped, it changed him by him getting angry for the first time, and for the first time getting treated poorly. So Lizbeth is really proving that he's spoiled. So in this case, it means he's not humble, because he thinks, I'm the king. How can they be treating me like this? So great evidence selection, Lizbeth. Everyone, just make sure that you always follow the steps, so that the steps are to show. The steps before are to set up your evidence. The steps after are to prove how it proves your point. So make sure that we always have context, evidence, analysis. All right, today, no new pages in Call of the Wild. I want to ask you a deeper level question about it. So let's actually look at today's assignment. Using those same pages, guys. I want you to analyze how does the setting at Judge Miller's estate shape Buck's personality? This is a really important reading skill. We got to be able to analyze how the setting shapes the characters and how it affects them. Okay, so um, using the feedback that you just got on Buck and his situation at the beginning of the story, how he's not humble at all, you're just going to write an ASAC response of how does the setting at Judge Miller's estate shape Buck's personality. Okay, provide at least two pieces of evidence that show how the setting impacts who Buck is and his personality. Make sure that you follow the steps like I've been saying over and over and over again. I'm going to keep on. Okay. The other part of your assignment today is just part of an article that we're going to read over the course of a couple classes called The Secrets Inside Your Dog's Mind. This is an article that was in Time magazine a few years back that talks about it's kind of what we do, what we think we know about dogs, and what we don't know about dogs and the connection between dogs and humans. So I just assigned the first 12 paragraphs of this. This is a much longer article, but we're just going to read just the first 12 paragraphs, and some of them are very short. 12 paragraphs actually sounds much longer than it actually is. And I just gave some comprehension questions to go with it, right? Again, you'll know by the points how complex the question is. So more complex questions that require you to do more thinking or explaining are going to be worth more points. So first question is going to be, what remarkable thing does Henry the Schnoodle do, and what makes it remarkable? No need for like quotes there. That's not an ASAC response. In your own words, tell me about what that dog does and why the article says it's special. Make sure it's in your own words, though. You don't just pick a line that answers the question. Explain it in your own words, in multiple sentences. Next question is, and this is just the second question. It's just two questions on these 12 paragraphs. Why are scientists studying the relationship between humans and dogs? Provide at least two reasons and explain the importance of each. Again, this can be in your own words, guys, but make sure that you give two different reasons why the scientists study the relationship between humans and dogs. And after each reason, why is that important to know? Or why is it important to find out more about? Okay. All right. That's all I got for today. I really want to plug you guys going to office hours with Miss McKinney. The students who are going to office hours are doing a much better job in their writing. So do your reading before you get there. Show up to office hours ready to discuss. And if you're a student who has been logging into office hours and to like Mr. Ortega's meetings and you're not turning in your work, you're in for kind of a sad surprise today. Yeah, you are going to be kicked out of those groups until you start turning in your work, because we want to connect with you guys. We want to know how you're doing on your work. We all know how you're doing in general, like as people, because we care about you as people. But there's a couple scholars who are kind of using this platform just as a way to just socialize, when the most important part of this is that you're still learning and you're still working. So make sure you are getting your work in, and make sure you're pushing your classmates to get their work in as well. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I can't wait to see your thinking on Buck and his environment, and your thoughts on this secrets inside your dog's mind reading. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.